Your team comes to you for everything. Every mistake, every decision, every problem they should be able to solve without you. It can feel like proof that you're caring, supportive, and being a really reliable leader. But 20 years in HR and talent management says otherwise, because the more indispensable you become to the work, the harder it can be for your boss to see what you're capable of as a leader. So let's unpack that. For the past 20 years, I've worked in HR and talent management, and today I coach quiet professionals to speak up with confidence and be positioned for career growth. And this includes quiet people leaders who want to delegate more clearly, give feedback that actually helps, and build a team that takes greater ownership. And there's something I see again and again in that work. Quiet professionals often bring many of the qualities that we say we want in a leader. They listen, they think before they act, and they care about their people and want them to succeed. These are really important strengths, and they can also get stretched way too far. So you listen so carefully to what people need that they start making allowances they never asked for. Or you think through every decision so thoroughly that many of the decisions only stay with you. And you want your team to feel supported, so you step in, you fix the problem, and you carry the work a little too much. So you're trying to be a good leader. Meanwhile, your team keeps coming back to you. Your own work keeps piling up, and you spend most of your time in execution. And that makes it harder for your boss to see the full impact you could have as a leader, because so much of your value is still tied to what you personally get done, the stuff that got you promoted in the first place. But now, as a people leader and as a next level leader, you need to demonstrate other skills that's going to show your capability. So in this video, I want to look at 3 strengths that quiet professionals often bring to people leadership: the ability to listen, decide, and develop others. We're going to look at why each one is important to you and how it can get overextended and how to use it in a way that helps your team grow without leaving you responsible for everything. Because you don't need to do it all to prove you're worthy of your leadership position. So let's start with listening. Quiet professionals are often so good at noticing what other people miss. You pay attention to how someone responds in a meeting. You notice when a person seems overwhelmed, even if they haven't said a single word. And you're usually thinking about the human being behind the work, not only whether the task got done. And that kind of awareness helps people feel understood, and it can create a lot of trust on a team. But here's where things get tricky. Sometimes you notice what someone may need, and then you quietly take responsibility for solving it. And one of my clients, Elizabeth, led a team that was incredibly supportive of one another. 2 of her directors had children they needed to get ready in the morning, and the team had an early event coming up. So what did Elizabeth do? Elizabeth knew that mornings were busy, so she didn't ask anything. She didn't ask for any type of help with this important meeting, even though her directors had said that they were able to put aside time for this particular event. In her mind, she was being really considerate. She didn't want to add anything to an already full plate. So she made the decision for them, and she took on all of the logistics by herself. She arrived extremely early, handled the setup. She walked away feeling as though she did everyone a favor. And her directors never had a chance to say, yes, I can help out with that, or to offer another way they could contribute. Her instinct came from care. And the result was more work for her and less shared responsibility for the team. And you might say, okay, well, that's great. She showed that she was dependable. She was able to do it all. But guess what? In doing everything, she got so buried in the weeds that she wasn't able to step into this event strategically, how she actually wanted to be seen. She was focused on catering instead of facilitating, and she was focused on reading instead of having strategic conversations. So this is really important here, because deep listening and caring is really useful, but the next step is to use that context to have conversations. And you might say, I know mornings can be complicated for you, and we need 2 people here early. What can you take on? And this gives the other person a voice in the decision, and it also keeps ownership where it belongs. And Elizabeth began doing more of this with her team. She assigned agendas and work plans instead of preparing everything herself. And she gave people the opportunity to take responsibility and then let them follow through. And as she stepped up, she gained space. She could participate in more strategic conversations instead of managing every single detail in the background. So if listening is one of your strengths, keep it. Use what you notice to ask a better question and set a clear expectation, or to open up conversation. You don't have to do everything yourself to show someone else that you understand them and care about them. And listening is only one place where this pattern shows up. You may also be someone who takes pride in making thoughtful, well-considered decisions. And that can be a huge advantage, especially when the stakes are extremely high. It can also leave you sitting in the middle of far too many decisions. Now, quiet professionals often want to understand the situation before they respond. You observe, gather information, and think through the consequences. You're less likely to react just because everyone else is reacting. In a high-pressure environment, that steadiness is really so common. One of my clients, let's call her Kay, she's a leader in healthcare. A physician left on her team, and there were still patients who needed care. So she had to make sense of the situation really quickly without losing sight of the people who would be affected. So Kate reviewed the caseload, identified which patients were the most urgent, and gave the scheduler clear direction about who needed to be seen first. She was calm, she was thoughtful, and her judgment helped protect patient care. And this type of level-headed decision-making, especially for quiet professionals, is so underrated. She saw what mattered most and gave people a clear way forward, and she did exactly that. The challenge actually came after the immediate situation. So as new issues came up, Kay stayed personally involved in triaging and solving each one. She knew she needed to delegate more, and she knew that her team needed stronger systems. But each new problem just felt so urgent, so she kept getting pulled back into firefighting. And over time, too many decisions just depended on her. Her careful judgment was still extremely valuable, but the team couldn't benefit from it unless she was personally in the room. And that's the point where a leader needs to take the judgment that already exists in their head and turn it into something the team can use. So for Kay, that meant separating decisions into 3 groups. First, which decisions genuinely needed her expertise or authority? Second, which decisions could the team make with a few clear guidelines? And third, what process could they put in place so that they didn't have to solve the same type of problem from the beginning every single time? And these 3 swim lanes are helpful because they helped her to delegate in a way that helped people understand what she's thinking through, what to watch out for, and when they need to bring something back to her. So your boss probably already knows you can step in and handle a difficult situation. What shows your broader leadership potential is what happens after you step in. Does the team become clear about how to respond next time? And can other people make sound decisions without you? Or are you building a new way of working that doesn't rely on you holding every single detail together? When the answer is yes, your boss can see the results of your leadership in a way the whole team operates. And if some of this feels familiar to you, especially if you know you want to say something but you soften it, overthink it, or struggle to find the words in the moment, I created a resource that can help. It's called the Leadership Presence Guide, 7 scripts that help quiet high performers speak up and get noticed. It gives you practical language for communicating more clearly as a leader while still sounding like yourself. And you can grab it using the link below. Now, let's look at the third strength, because this is where a lot of caring leaders end up caring for more than they realize. Third strength is your desire to develop other people. Quiet leaders often think carefully about what someone needs in order to succeed, and you want people to feel prepared. You don't need to hand over something important before they have the confidence or experience to manage it really well. So that care can make you a patient coach and a supportive manager. It can also make it very easy to keep doing the work until someone else is completely ready. So that's what my client Elizabeth ran into. She was onboarding 2 new associates, and she wanted to set them up so well for success. And her original plan was to train them over a year and have them fully take on the following year. So on paper, that sounded really thoughtful because it's really curated. It's a pace where they could take on more without feeling overwhelmed. But the issue was that Elizabeth was still carrying all the administrative work while the associates remained in training mode. So she was doing so much that she had even started working weekends just to keep everything moving. At the same time, the associates weren't getting enough role experiences to build the confidence and the capabilities that she wanted them to have. So when we looked at the situation together, it became really clear that training and ownership needed to overlap. So Elizabeth accelerated the handoff. The associates began building agendas and preparing the facilitation of the weekly meetings. And they were given real responsibilities with Elizabeth there to guide them and give feedback. And that changed the experience for everyone because Elizabeth now could step back from the execution and her associates began developing the skills that they would need to take on more. There's a really important lesson here because people rarely feel completely ready before they take on something new. A lot of confidence develops after someone has had the chance to try, work through a challenge, and receive feedback, and then try again. So your role as the leader is to decide what level of responsibility is appropriate right now, make the expectations clear, and stay available to coach. And when your team struggles, pause before taking the work back. That struggle may be the part that's going to help them learn. So when you feel tempted to keep holding something until a person is fully prepared, ask yourself, what can they own now that will help them become ready for what comes next? And that question is going to help to develop that person through experience. And that's a much stronger way into people leadership. Your impact is going to become visible in the confidence, judgment, and the capability growing around you, and not only in how much you can carry personally. So now I want to give you a moment to think about how this may show up on your own team. So here are 3 questions to ask yourself. First, what feedback am I softening or avoiding? Maybe you're trying to protect the relationship, but if the person can't clearly understand what needs to change, they can't take responsibility for improving it. Kind feedback can still be specific and direct. Second, what work am I holding onto because I can do it faster or better? You probably can do it faster right now because you've had more practice. And the question is whether continuing to do it yourself is helping your team build the capability you'll need from them later. And third, where am I solving a problem that someone on my team needs to learn to solve? So this one is a little uncomfortable because being needed can feel valuable. Leadership value also shows up in what your team can do when you're no longer the person solving every single problem. So take a look at your answers and choose one place where you can shift some ownership this week. It can be one clear piece of feedback, one decision your team can make, or one responsibility you can hand over for the right level of support. And you don't have to change everything at once. Really focus on one deliberate shift and change the way that your team works with you. So if you're a quiet professional, you can become a stronger people leader with the personality you already have. Your ability to listen, think carefully, and care about the people gives you a strong foundation. The work is really now learning how to use those strengths without letting them pull you back into carrying everything yourself. So listen closely and then turn what you hear into a clear conversation and shared ownership. Use your thoughtful judgment and then create guidelines that help your team make more decisions well. And support people's development by giving them real responsibility along with the coaching and feedback that they need to grow. And that's how you create a team that can think, act, and deliver without waiting for you at every single step. And that's how your boss is going to begin to see how you're personally growing as a leader. They can see the capable team you're building and the leader you're becoming. And you don't need to do it all to prove you're worthy of your leadership position. And if you're thinking, okay, but I have delegated and people still aren't doing what I asked, that's exactly what we're going to focus on in the next video. Because once you stop carrying everything yourself, the next step is making ownership really clear and allowing your team to follow through. I'll see you in the next video.